Hello, everybody. Welcome to the SoCal Watch Reviews podcast. Thank you so much for 100 episodes.
100.
Believe it. I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey, but we are here, and thank you so much for your support. We just wanted to take this moment to personally thank you, and I wanted to thank you, P. Ross, too, being by my side, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for inviting me on this.
Yeah,
it's been
what
a
journey.
hell of a journey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I also want to thank my wife. I want to thank my daughter. I want to thank my mother and my father for having me.
Yeah. You're not, it's not an Oscar. You're not winning an Oscar, P. Ross.
I mean, but it's episode 100 though.
You know what?
It's episode 100.
I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it. But
Party out of time.
Absolutely. But you know what? I am so excited. On top of being episode 100, we achieved something that early on, you and I talked about this, right? We said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if at one point we have this guest? So we did. I hope everybody enjoys this show, but hit him with that quote. We have a quote for everybody.
Yes. Success isn't just about what you accomplish in your life. It's about how you inspire others to do. Okay.
Amen.
Remember that.
Absolutely. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the show because we had a ton of fun recording this. And TGV, if you're watching and listening, thank you so much again for your time.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the show. Guys and girls, how's it going? I am Miguel. This is the SoCal Watch Reviews podcast. We're celebrating episode 100. We did it.
100.
A lot of work, man. A lot of work. A lot of amazing guests have come through the show. We've made some really good acquaintances. We made some really good friends, personally. And today we're celebrating big. So before we get into that, how are you doing, P?
Yo, I'm doing great. This is episode 100. Let's get into it. Let's just jump right into it.
Just jump into it. Just you know what? This next guest doesn't need an introduction, but it's customary, and people love these introductions. So, P. Ross, do what you do, man.
Listen, we have an OG of the watch community. This is the guy. If you say that you didn't start watch collecting because of this guy, you're lying. He some way, somehow has something to do with it. I remember my first video was the Daniel Wellington video. You know what I mean? And I never bought a Daniel Wellington or a Michael Kors watch after that. Okay. So he has had some influence on you. So right now we have the legendary TGV from the Urban Gentry, baby. What's up?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh God, I got to have that on every video of mine now. I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh man, we are so honored.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, it's been I've been watching you for going on 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. I've been a fan of yours for about 7 years.
Wow.
You got me into watch collecting. Thank you.
Absolutely.
No, I'm just kidding. It is it's been expensive, but no, it's awesome.
Well,
it's awesome.
Thank you, and I apologize at the same time.
Let me call my wife so you could apologize to her. I'm just kidding.
Right.
XKX 007 was the first automatic watch for me.
That's the best place to start. Yeah. What about you, P?
The watch that I bought, I missed the XKX train. I missed that. It's too much now. I refuse to pay that for that.
It's crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? $600. That's too much.
Is that what they're going for now? Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But I think I want to say I bought a Belova when I first started watching you. Matter of fact, it's right here.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Oh, okay.
He just happened to have it right there.
Yeah,
Nice.
for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yes, sir.
Well, you know, so typically we talk to our guests a little bit before we start recording, and one of the funny things that happen is we'll do a wrist check, but we're all wearing the same watch and on very similar straps.
This was not planned. This is not coordinated.
No.
It's not. But this watch is such a good watch that I mean, great minds think alike. So TGV, take it away. What are you wearing, man?
The mighty flighty. There it is.
Mighty flighty.
Yeah.
I like that. P. Ross, what are you
What are you
wearing?
I am wearing the mighty Flighty. You know what I mean? You know.
And I am wearing the Flight Master, the Flighty. It's so funny.
Did you coin that phrase, Flighty?
I mean, I probably put Y's on the end of everything. I think it's my mum does it. So subby, speedy, flighty. What else? Those are a few examples, but yeah. So I think it was just natural, flighty.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember when or if it was me, but probably.
And I've heard some people say, well, it's not a Flight Master, or just to say it's a Flight Master and all that. And I'm like, I remember one of your videos, you broke it down about the Flight Master, and you had such a great history about the Japanese. And I was like, man, when I grow up, I want to be like this guy. This guy is so good. Your intros, man, next level. Like seriously, not a lot of people compared to you. And Hugo, where's Hugo? I don't see
I think he's on the set of the new Bond movie. He's the new
He's a Daniel Craig. Got it. All right. Hopefully, hopefully Omega will collaborate with him, and you'll get a cool watch out of it. But obviously, a lot of our listeners and people that we know, and including us, know who you are. Of course, who doesn't? But there is a lot of new watch collectors coming onto the scene. So for some people that may not know you, do you mind giving us a little backstory of who you are and what got you into watch collecting?
Of course. So, I mean, these days I'm part-time YouTuber. I was full-time for about almost 2 years. But I'm trying to pursue other things. Actually, the editing you mentioned earlier, that's got me into doing more kind of professional. I just don't want to say professional, but if they're paying you for it, it's it's professional. But so I do it part time. I got into it. I think it started about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, right at the beginning. I just did it for fun, just sharing. It wasn't actually originally about watches. I would review bags and talk about shoes and other things. And then I noticed, because I started with a Rolex Submariner, an SKX, what was it? Oris Aquis, Hamilton, and I noticed those videos did really, really well. And there wasn't that much out there on YouTube, is blog to watch and so on. But so I just did more of it, and it just kind of snowballed. Okay. And then you get to that stage where it's like, because I was working freelance as a sound editor, and there are, especially in New York, that kind of gig, like you'll go for several weeks without working, and then you'll get a gig, and then you'll work straight. It's like that's what happens when you work freelance. So when I was kind of like on downtime, I would just do more YouTube, and it was so rudimentary. It's just literally a really shoddy little cheap camera, and I just turned it on with the hands, and a lot of umming and ahhing, and I didn't know anything about video editing or anything. I knew audio editing, and I think actually that has taught me about rhythm in editing, when to make cuts, so it's kind of translated. So yeah, and now I consult for brands. I've designed watches behind the scenes and publicly. That's cool. Which you'll see the results of hopefully in the next couple of months. Nice. So that's where I am now. So yeah.
Nice. And what got you into watch collecting?
Oh yes, of course. Well, it was my grandfather's Charles Frodsham, which is a pocket watch.
Right.
And
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and I was always entranced by the mechanics of it, and I couldn't wear it because it's a pocket watch. Although that could be quite cool.
You can wear it on your neck.
Yeah.
Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's gold too, so
there you go.
Could work. Yeah. So that got me intrigued, and at the same time, I inherited my dad's Seiko, which was very much like the Saab 033, but from the 70s.
Oh man.
Okay. And that dichotomy between this historic, because Charles Frodsham is, I think, historically he produced marine chronometers for the longest period, and no one's produced watches consistently still to this day. I mean, it's not, obviously he's passed away, but they have a long storied, is an English watchmaker. And then of course Seiko. So you got this very affordable piece, and then this beautiful rare thing, and then just understanding the differences, and that's what got me hooked. And then I think the first big paycheck I got, I splurged on a Rolex, typical, you know.
Yeah.
I had already got into Amiga because of the Bond movies.
Oh, got it.
And then it just, you know, snowballed from there. And then I started documenting it on the channel. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I don't even know when precisely, but that's how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it's nice to know that a lot of the origins for a lot of people is watches they inherited from somebody, you know what I mean? And I would make the assumption that probably my son, maybe your daughter P, would be maybe into watches somehow, just because we talk about it so much, and there's pieces in the collection that, I mean, yeah, that would be cool. If not, that's okay, but I'm sure they will have an appreciation, because it's like, you know, you always appreciate what your parents were into, you know.
Absolutely. I'm sure they will, because these watches were on your person. There's something you enjoy, and like you wore them, and there's not many, you know, I've inherited clothes, but they fall apart, you know.
Yeah.
Watches is a very personal thing, and when maintained, they last, you know, generations and generations.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, you could inherit like an art piece, which is cool, right? And you'll be like, all right, that's an art piece, but it wasn't on the person's, you know, self or whatever. But when you wear a watch, it's like, gee, I wonder, like my dad, my grandpa wore this to an interview or to a wedding, or they had a really hard day that day, or happiness or whatever. And it's like all these memories attached to this little object. And then I'll create my own memories and then pass it down to the next generation. And then they're going to sell it. But that's another story for a different podcast.
So right now, can you say how many pieces you have in your collection? Because I know it's like diverse.
I can't. I try and count. It's no, I have no idea. Sorry.
That's pretty much how mine is.
I know you have a ton, right? Because I think you said in an earlier video, and I was kind of like, what? Like, how many do you have?
It was over 200 at one point.
Oh my God.
So I got it down to around 130 right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, P has a problem. But
definitely.
What about you,
at least he admits it.
What about you, Miguel?
You know what? Not that many. Probably like I don't know, 30, pushing 30. But I've been trying to get rid of them, because I'm a firm believer in like a core collection. It's hard when you're addicted. It's hard, and especially when you review watches and then they send you pieces for free and stuff like that. It's like, well, sometimes you don't connect with them, and you do sell them to make money back for your time and equipment and whatnot. But sometimes you're like, I really like this piece. Or, you know, I collaborated with Timex. Actually, I've been fortunate to collaborate with them a few times, and those are pieces that thank you. Those are pieces that I personally wouldn't really wear, but because of the association to Timex and how cool it is, and getting a personal note for them, I'm like, I need to keep them. I need to keep them for the next generation. Like to tell my family, hey, that knucklehead was doing something out of the closet, filming things in that little closet, and he ended up collaborating with a big brand. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Sure.
So
I think most of mine, I got kind of caught up in the Invicta thing.
Right.
For a while, you know what I mean? Then I finally realized, like, I was just buying like anything that I thought was a deal, you know. But then I look back now, like, you fool, what you could have actually had, you know what I mean? So
I think we all do that. We all do that. I think we've all been there at some level. You know, I think there's a lot, you know, seller's remorse and all of that. There's a lot of that as well.
I got a lot of Invicta seller remorse. Like right now, if I could I got about 20 left. If I get rid of all of them, I would just keep the Pro Diver. That's it. So
that's a good one to keep.
Yeah.
So I'm working on it.
Nice.
So you have almost 500K subs.
It's a lot.
Is that what it is now?
Almost
half a million, man.
Woo. So
wow, that's
how does it feel for you to know that you got so many people in the watches and you've influenced so many people?
Yeah,
that's the best part of it. I have to say that's the most rewarding aspect of doing this. And I do get emails like that, and especially when people watch the videos with their son or daughter, that really is deeply motivating. And I think I'm at some level, I don't want to analyze it too much, but I think I'm trying to, because I got into it a little bit late. So if I can help anybody get into it, then that's kind of like making up for it, if that makes sense. But yeah, cool. That I can't say much more than that is the most rewarding aspect. That really is. That's why I continue, because I mean, I started it off as a hobby. It grew into something that was eventually some kind of career, and then naturally you have to do something else, right? You have to, for me, it's a stepping stone, but I'm always going to have one foot in it, because I never want to miss that chance of getting somebody else into it.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. Well, I was going to ask what keeps you motivated, to keep going, but I mean, you just pretty much summed it up pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let me ask, does your family, I'm sure your family's aware of what you do. I mean, you've done it for years. How do they feel about it? I mean, do they think it's funny? Because I mean, when I'll let you know why I'm asking. When I tell people that I do YouTube, they're like, "Oh my God, you do? What do you do?" And I'm like, "Wristwatches," and they look at me so weird. They're like, "What do you mean? Like a watch that you wear?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, and there's like, "What do you talk about?" And I'm like,
"Right."
It's so weird for them
to talk about. So much. Yeah. That is interesting. Obviously I told my mom and my parents and a lot of my cousins and people in Italy and the UK and around America, they just naturally found out. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. Right. I was like, I try and block it out and not think about it. But they were surprisingly supportive and proud of me, which was I didn't expect. And they especially appreciate that I kind of venerate my grandfather, like he's like a role model for me. And because that's his pocket watch. So it kind of, so they were proud of that. And I don't know, so I was really relieved. As soon as I heard that, I was very relieved. Yeah.
And it seems like your significant other must be super supportive, because I mean, we all know happy wife, happy life. So I mean,
oh yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, she's like my rock. I can't function without her. So
yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, when they get to that pinnacle, and I'm talking more like maybe artists or Hollywood or whatever, I noticed a lot of very successful actors, when they get to that pinnacle, they've always been married to the same person. And typically the people that last is when they got married before the success, because they're your ride and die, what they say, what they call them. And that's really important, to have. And even if you're watching or listening, even if you don't have or married or whatever, just having somebody in your life, it doesn't matter if it's a friend or parent or whatever, just have somebody in your life that you can trust and that's always rooting for you, because believe me, there's a lot of people not rooting for you. So
no doubt. Get rid of the haters at the same time. Before the summer come in, you need to get 100 more. So get rid of the haters out of your circle, get 100 more to hate you. You'll be doing fine then.
Yeah. I tell you a little bit of there's always going to be people detractors. If you got 100 subscribers, right, there's going to be 1 or 10% that don't like you. If you got 1,000, that's 100 people. If you got 1 million, that's 100,000. It's just proportional. So it's just if you can carry it and not mind.
So how do you personally like refrain from going off on somebody? Like, I see in some videos where you may mention something, but it's kind of like a Jay-Z thing. You know how Jay-Z sneak diss a lot? You know what I mean? You don't come out and say the person, but how do you refrain from just saying, you know what, I'm just finna go full blown ham?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think and it goes back to what we were saying about having somebody you trust and love in your life, is that I had my battle with health. I've been in the hospital so many times, intensive care and all this stuff, that it taught me that to value how and I don't want to be, it kind of sounds a little bit cheesy, but it is a cliche, but life is really, really short. Yeah. And you see how easily it can just go. Like one minute you're absolutely fine walking around, 100%. The next minute you've got tubes breathing out a machine, and then you're like 2 months recovering with a walking stick, you know, like, and so going through that again and again and again, it made me actually very, very resilient and very strong. I guess there are more important things. There really are. Absolutely. And I focus on what I love and what I love to do and sharing it. And if people love it and are feeling it, then that's good. Then we go the same way, you know? So, yeah.
Now, do you block people?
I used to, but not anymore, because you need that sting. You need that sting.
That's very high level, because like I'm in the habit of blocking people, you know what I mean, to get smart, say something crazy. See, I need to get to that level.
Right. You know, the problem with that is if you get used to not dealing with it, and you kind of let your guard down. At the beginning, I used to, because obviously I was not used to this, you know, like being called everything under the sun. You're not suddenly, you know, it's a bit strange, right? But then now I just let it go, because it reminds me, it keeps me, you know, you have to have that sting.
Right, because I go through your comments sometime, and I may not say nothing, but I read them, and I just be like, like, wow, this person said that. I'm waiting on the response. No response. And I'm like, I don't see how he do it.
It's hard, man. Like, honestly,
how do you deal with it? Do you go back and forth, or?
No, I generally, the last person that I blocked, I actually cussed out. You know what I mean? So you know, it was something about the podcast, and somebody said about him, and I'm just like, got time for this. Oh, yeah, well, remember the guy that called you a crybaby, whatever. But so you know, right. I had to get in him. So you know,
sorry, I was complaining about not or doing so much work and our channel's not growing and getting the views. And apparently, he called me a crybaby. Stop complaining about it. Like, okay, well, why don't you try YouTube? Put in 15 hours of work for one video or more, and then put it out, hope for the best, and then it doesn't get views. Then you tell me how it feels.
I know what that feels like. I stopped looking at views now. I totally keep out of it. That's why I want to do it part-time, because you're just doing what you love, you know, like,
for sure.
You know, you're not really chasing views, and I think it comes across as more authentic. I mean, I hope so. Yeah. That's
right.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you keep it as a hobby, you definitely come across as I'm passionate about this, because once it becomes a job, you could get burned out, and then people definitely notice, you know. Man, but I'm curious to know. So obviously watches, and that's kind of you that's your core, right? You review watches. So I'm curious to know, have you ever had an experience where you get a watch and it exceeds your expectations, and then on the flip side, have you ever had a watch come in and it's awesome specs and pictures, and you get it and you're like, oh god, right? Do I want to review this? Like,
I had to, that's a good one. The first watch that really exceeded my expectation was a Hanhart, the Techie Tele Pioneer, I think it was called, and I reviewed it. I can't remember when, but it's such an underrated brand. The history this brand has, and they're still there in produced in the same factory I think in the Black Forest of Germany, and they're amazing quality. I mean, everyone goes to Zinn if you want to. They're very tool-tastic. They're very like they made a lot of watches for the German Air Force post World War II, and Steve McQueen wore one. They're very particular. There's just something about it. The quality of it, the design just blew me away, and the history. And digging in deep, I you know, why did they paint this button red and not the other one, and all these little details. I love that brand, and they do not get the respect they deserve. Fortis are always, especially now, they're just best Fliegers on the market now. They've got these new calibers now, and they're redesigning their whole line. I love all of that. On the flip side, I would say well, this is a difficult one. I did note something down. Oh yeah,
movement watches. No, I'm just kidding.
Movement watches. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed with Yema. I think I said this in a recent video with Mark. They're getting a lot of flack for their QC and their customer care can be, you either have a really good experience or terrible, you know?
Right.
And that puts me in a bad position because I own their Superman. I still own their Superman. I sold the steel one, got the bronze one, and I've kind of fallen out of love with it, and I regret I should have kept the steel one. The steel one was much nicer. Anyway, whatever, that's my problem. But the problem is I recommend them. You know, I still did the positives and negatives in the video, and I discussed it as unbiased as you can be, right? That's the point of a review, right?
Right.
But I recommended them, and then, you know, if you recommend to 100 people and 100 people buy it, and then 10 have a bad experience, it kind of comes back to bite me in the butt, so to speak, you know, and so it puts me in a dilemma. Do I continue recommending them? Because QC is not a part of the physical watch, but it is part of the experience. And I'm concerned, like, what happens when I want to service, because I got the in-house caliber that they do, you know, what happens now? So it's not terrible. It's not the end of the world. The watch is performing beautifully. I wore it the other day. Actually, Mark was here. We recorded a video. I wore it in that video. And I still love it, but I don't know. They need to fix their QC. You know,
hopefully they do. I mean, beautiful designs, great history, but that's also the problem that I'm seeing, right? So some watch brands kind of die off, and then somebody comes in and buys the name and kind of revives the brand, right? But it could go either way. They could do a really good job or not so great, you know?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But yeah, man. So I'm glad you actually said the name. I didn't think you were going to call out a watch brand, but
well, I mean,
kudos to you.
Thank you. I mean, you know, it's respectful criticism, if that makes sense. I think, you know,
and constructive criticism, because
constructive, exactly. I don't, you know, respectful honesty, I guess. I don't bash brands. I mean, I guess I bashed what was it? Was it Movement a bit? But that's because they're just ripping people off.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference between like a company really trying to do something, right? And they may take shortcuts with the strap or this or blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to bash them, you know? Like,
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. But hopefully Yema's listening or watching, and they could step up their QC and customer service and all that, because it's beautiful designs. Step it up.
Yeah. I'm sure they will. They have everything going for them. I mean, you know, they renewed their contract with the Marine Nationale. I mean,
oh, nice.
That's a very impressive. That's what makes a brand now, you know, like. You know.
Yeah, they just actually, I was on Instagram this morning, and I saw that they released some new watches, really cool designs. I think there's like an integrated bracelet one or something. So I'd be very curious to check one out. Never seen a Yema metal. But nice designs. They just need to step it up. But like you said, TGV, it shouldn't be a hard thing for them, especially when a lot of people, and I've heard it from several sources, they're complaining about the same thing. So it's something to be aware of for sure. So
wow. So what's something that you've never talked about publicly that we can get exclusively on this podcast? We need something.
Okay. Something. I got one for you in particular, P, and that's that, and one that I haven't really discussed. The first thing is that Italian was my first language. A lot of people don't realize that because they hear the British accent, they just think, you know. And I'm currently relearning it because it's got rusty because I don't have anyone here to speak it. You know, not my family. So, and I woke up the other night after I watch a lot of YouTube in Italian now because that's the best way to their watch channels are growing tremendously. They've got a really strong community.
There's a guy out there, by the way, Pasquale.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Woo.
Yeah.
He's like the Italian Bark and Jack. I invited him to the show, but he's like, my English is not good enough to be on the podcast. But shout out to you, Pasquale.
They're good. They're good guys. And they're very united and very like they help each other. Cool. And I love that. And So anyway, I've been studying, and for the first time, I woke up in the middle of the night, my mind racing, and I was thinking in Italian for the first time since I was a child. I totally forgot what that's like.
Yeah.
Just for a split second.
Wow.
And it just blew my mind, and so that's something I've never really discussed.
Okay, cool.
Very interesting.
And the other thing is for P is that I'm a massive, I've always noticed, massive Prince fan.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's what's up. See that, Miguel? See, he's the greatest.
I've always noticed the posters in the background. I was like, I got to talk to this guy. So
the greatest. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, I guess.
See, Miguel. see. You need to go ahead and just come over and just get into him, man. He's the greatest of all time.
Look, I could get into Prince, but not Star Wars. Please don't get into Star Wars.
Star Wars too.
Don't.
All right.
Pete, can I ask you what is your favorite Prince album?
1999.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that was the first Prince album I heard, and it has stuck with me since 1982.
Right.
I think I was like 10 years old too. Right. Listening to stuff in that mature content, like blew my mind.
Yeah.
So
I was very much the same way. Yeah. He's amazing.
Well, TGV, I don't know if you know this, but P. Ross actually has a YouTube channel dedicated to Prince, and he started that.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The Purple Underground.
Yep.
Okay, I have to subscribe. How embarrassing! I apologize. I should know this.
He doesn't talk about it much, but yeah, him and his buddy started that way before the Watch channel, right?
Really?
Yeah, back in 2012.
Wow. When he passed away, I genuinely was quite depressed. I didn't know what to do. So I felt kind of lost. I felt like I hadn't. When people you look up to, they're kind of, I don't know, his music was so integral to my upbringing. And like, I learned through him things that I couldn't, no one was talking about particular subjects, it was amazing. Yeah, I was very sad. Anyway, sorry. we should do a Prince podcast or something.
Yeah, I'll probably just be in the background, just listening. No idea about Prince. Yeah. Purple Rain, that's all I know, right?
Oh god, that makes me cry still every time. I
can't even listen to Purple Rain now.
Really?
Is it since he died, I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't either.
That's crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, he was a big character and a lot of talent, right? So just like Michael Jackson, another guy. Now that guy I can relate to, because growing up, I mean, it was all about Michael Jackson, right? So I'm in that era where grew up in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So yeah, he was a big influence.
He was one of the greats.
Oh yeah. Look at Pete.
But he wasn't the greatest.
It's debatable. But TGB, so give us a word of encouragement for fellow watch collectors and fellow influencers. And I hate to use that word, but it's true, right? I mean, we influence people to buy or don't buy it. So any words of encouragement?
Yeah, I'm not fond of that word either. I think just be yourself, and people are they're gonna like it and they're not gonna like it. Don't dwell on it. Be respectful. Don't say anything you would never say to somebody's face. I think that's it's just gentlemanly conduct. I think. Focus on the positive. Stick to what you love, and follow that, because that usually translates to whatever you're doing. It's really that simple, and I think consistency as well. I think is important, and trying to always. You see, I've made tons of mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We're not machines, we're not perfect. But I think it's the ability to get up after you've done a mistake, and because every video I've ever done, I know I said something wrong, I missaid the date, I edited something, the transition wasn't right, or blah blah blah. Never to dwell on, there's no such thing as perfection. I think just to keep going, keep refining the process, keep going, and it's how quick you get up from when you make a mistake to keep going. That's I think that's fundamentally the best thing I can say.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. And for any new collectors of watches, I recommend you go watch. It's one of your latest videos about mistakes and watch collecting and stuff like that. So great points. I really do appreciate you putting those kind of videos together, you know, and just the way you present it, the way you explain it. And I think that's why a lot of people like you, because you don't just do reviews of a watch, right? You give your own perspective on things, lessons you learn, and just different things. And you approach everything in such a professional level and such a manner that it's so relatable. And I know you hate the term influencer, but you are, man. And I just, you influence a lot of people in a positive way, right? And that's the thing, that you could influence people. There's a bunch of YouTubers out there that do dumb things, huge channels, millions, and you watch their content and it's like, why are they famous? They're drinking, they're doing drugs, they're doing all kinds of weird things, and you're like, what are they doing? I feel that when I watch your channel and I hear you speak, you have culture. You're kind of, you want that gentleman, right? If you're a man watching, women, I don't know, but if you're a man watching it, it made me feel, and I've never probably said this publicly, but when I started watching your channel and I got into TGV, it made me feel like a gentleman. It's weird, right? And I'm like, well, I'm not British, clearly, but it made me feel refined. And I'm like, yeah, Parker Jotter. I lost my pen, but I get my Parker Jotter, but I bought one because of you. And I was like, nice. Oh, I feel more like TGV. Cool. Like that's something nice. And I never wear a blazer. I told you that unless it's an interview or party, but I'm wearing one just because I'm talking to you. And I'm like, look,
you look extremely dapper, I have to say.
Well, thank you, TGV.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the hair. Woo.
The black T-shirt always goes so well with a gray like that.
Black goes with everything, man. Black goes with everything. But you know what goes with everything too? A flighty. I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Yo, so I have a question for you. When I first showed them this watch, and they called me the Black TGV, right?
So, do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I think I saw that. Was that you had a guest on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, probably Omar or Dave. Shout out to them, Timeless Sneakers and Watches, and David Schwartz.
I think that was the guy. Yeah.
So I want to know: is it okay for me to use that, the Black TGV?
I'm extremely proud. I'm honored.
You know. Okay.
I'll be the Hispanic TGV.
That's right. There we go.
Fantastic.
You know.
All the nationalities are covered here. Right? But no. So check it out. We're P and I have been talking. We're like, how can we make this this podcast different and fun? And we wanted to kind of introduce something with you as the first guest, and we call it the quick fire questions. So it's going to be just 4 questions. You just tell us, you don't have to give us an explanation, just tell us this or that, and that's what it is. So P, take it away, man.
All right. Swiss or Japanese?
Oh God, that's so, oh no. Okay, Sega's my favorite brand of all time.
Really?
Really? But I would still choose Swiss, because if I think about it, all my favorite watches are Swiss.
Okay.
Even though Sega's my favorite brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, I feel you.
That's very difficult. That's yeah. All right.
Okay. New York or London?
Oh God. Now that's starting to get a bit evil now, because that's which part of my family should I offend? Okay, London's got the history. You can go and see Harrison's Marine Chronometer, GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. It's the Romans founded it. I was born there. Oh God, but I'm going to be a traitor, and I'm going to say New York, because the love of my life is from New York. I got my half my family's there now.
Awesome.
And it's a place that you can literally, it made me a man, actually, I have to say.
If you can make
I think I was a boy when I arrived. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Hip hop or classical music?
Oh God, no. I'm not, I can't decide. Okay. For me, hip hop to me motivates me. It inspires me. It empowers me. In some ways, it's taught me good things and bad things. But I don't use it. I use classical to relax. I use classical to unwind, and I can't. You see, I can't put Ice Cube on when I'm trying to write a video or edit.
Right.
It
For
doesn't
sure.
make. But if I'm going for a jog or trying to get motivated to do something, I will. I'll put on his War disc, and that's just like the Art of War.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
It's just boom, like you know exactly what to do today.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. I didn't decide. I can't on that.
Okay, we'll give you that one. But this should be an easy one for you.
Last
Invicta or Michael Kors?
Yeah, that is easy. That's Invicta all the way.
I thought you were gonna say Michael Kors. No, I'm just he's like easy. Oh, Michael Kors.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Very, very simple. Okay, I know Invicta have done some really questionable things marketing wise, and I know they make some very, very loud watches. Not my style, you guys know this, but you mentioned it earlier, P. The Pro Diver. Thank you.
Right.
It's tremendous value. I think it's an NH35, is it?
Yeah, NH35. Yeah.
I mean, $80 on Amazon, offering great value for people. So, and also their vintage watches are beautiful.
Yeah, for
sure. Michael Kors. I've seen a Michael Kors in the flesh. My wife had one, and it was not worth what the asking price was. So it's a fashion brand, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And let the record show I have sold every Michael Kors watch that I own. They're all good.
Good for you, Pete. Good for you.
Yes.
But I mean, if you let's finish with that, right? So Invicta, Michael Kors. So a lot of people ask me the question, well, why not fashion watches? And my response is always like, well, with that same money, you could buy something better. Yeah. But their response is, but that's something better that's better to you doesn't usually look that pretty, because fashion watches look cool and they look pretty and they match a lot of outfits. And you're telling me to buy this Seiko 5. I mean, it has that thing you're talking about, that movement or whatever. Yeah, an automatic movement. But they don't look very pretty. To us watch people, obviously, oh, well, it's a classic. It almost looks like a SAR, blah, blah. But to them, it's like, it's just a black face. They didn't even call it that, black face. But the other one is cool. It has some design. Yeah, because it's an homage of something prettier, more expensive. So what is your response to somebody saying that? Like, well, why not a fashion watch?
I honestly think that opinion is gonna go is gonna not be as relevant anymore, because if you look at what Seiko are doing and Timex, and they're making more fashionable watches now. I mean, Seiko is really pushing their Seiko 5 line, and they're doing daring stuff with, with the Street Fighter watches and this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think that's really going to open a lot more, open it up to a lot more people into watches. I think that was true back in the day, but now, I think everybody needs to do a little bit of research, and if they stumble, you see, that's why that video about what was it, Movement, or what's the other one?
Daniel Wellington.
Thank you. Yeah. That's why those videos help, because do you know how many comments a day I get on those videos where it's like, oh, I was just about to buy this, and then then I saw it and I'm just like, yes,
I saw the light. Thank you.
Welcome. So I think it's gonna, and it's not just me. There's a million YouTubers now, so it's a whole different world. I think it's changing for the better. I really do.
So there's really no need for nobody to buy a fashion watch nowadays, right?
Not really. No. I think the biggest enemy is smartwatches. That's what's really hurting the industry. That's what we've got to try, and it's like we've got to convert them to the old ways, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say it's a double-edged sword, because also smartwatches have converted a lot of people into getting into watches, but it's interesting. So my wife wears her smartwatch or Apple whatever watch every single day, right? And she uses it for her steps and her whatever in performance, which is cool. It's a tool. That's awesome. But I try to convince her when we go out somewhere, right, and she's not going to work, and be like, you want to borrow a watch? I got a plethora of watches. And she goes, no, I don't care. This thing is comfortable. It tells me the time. And I'm like, no offense, but you look extremely good today, right? You dress every day. Okay. She's not around. Every day you look good every day. You look good every day. But today you stepped it up. I mean, your hair, your makeup, you look awesome.
Yeah.
and you have that thing on your wrist, no offense, but it just kind of takes away from the look. It really does. I'm like, if you put a nice watch on, it'll just elevate that style. Or don't wear a watch. Take that thing off. And she just didn't care. She's like, I don't care.
There's a double. There's a double-edged sword to that. Oh, double. What's the expression? Double-edged
sword.
Yeah, double-edged sword. Thank you. If they get into it, do you know how expensive that? Especially when they start looking at a VC patrimony and they're like, I like this, and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, I consider myself lucky because the only watch my wife took from me was my sword.
Well, that's
and she wears that out. She wears that all the time, so I don't have to. I'm cool with her. She's good.
So does my wife. She loves the Saab.
Yeah.
That's
Saab is such an awesome piece, man. Especially that I forget the reference, but that salmon dial they came out with. That kind of, oh my god, that's a grail for me.
Really? Yeah, they're kind of hard to get.
They are. They're super expensive. So
really, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah. I forget the reference number, and I'm sure somebody will leave it in the comments. But that salmon dial is incredible. Like Seiko, for what it was, for what the Saab was, it was such an incredible value. Now they're $1,000, I think, or something like that. I would steer clear from buying one at that price.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I mean, that was a watch, and funny enough, all three of us own that watch. So there you go. So let me get your opinion before we sign off on Rolex, because you got into Rolex back in the days when it's expensive, of course, but you could buy it, right? For two reasons: buy it because it was available, and buy it because it was a little more affordable. And now it's gonna set you back a lot more, and you can't even get it. So what's going on with Rolex? What are your thoughts on everything that's going on?
You see, they're very, very secretive as a company, and I know this from somebody that got offered a job there. She didn't take it, but the things they had, she would have to. They're almost like some kind of secret age, like a CIA intelligence. Yeah, they're very, very secretive, and so I don't know if it's necessarily I think there's genuinely a shortage. I really do.
Really?
Having said that, I have been I went to the one on Fifth Ave with a very big Rolex collector friend of mine who flew in just to buy this piece.
Whoa. Okay.
And so I went with him, and he bought a whole bunch of Daytonas, just like in one go. Daytonas I've never even heard of or seen. And when he walked in, it was like, they welcomed him. Because obviously, he's a good customer.
Right.
Yeah.
So that led me to believe, maybe, they're holding some back, probably for, they're prioritizing who's gonna, who the real, so
of course
it's contradicting stories. The only people who really know is Rolex. So having said that, I do think the prices are ridiculous. There are still kind of soft spots. Like I think the Yachtmaster is great value. There's some, I think the Air King and the ones that aren't so much in demand, I think they're still decent value. But anything in life, it's what people are willing to pay for them, and people are willing to pay a lot of money.
I agree.
So is it worth it? Is it justifiable? I think that's in the eye of the beholder. I don't know. I would never buy a new Saab. I don't think I'd buy a new Rolex ever.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't see. I'll buy a used one, sure, but not a new one.
Cool.
There we go.
Honestly, I used to aspire to own a Rolex, and Rolex has always been, about Rolex, but with everything going on and how prices are going, and then the perception of people, and then I forgot where I went. It escaped my mind, but I went somewhere with my family, and I kid you not, I was watch spotting, and every single person was wearing a Rolex, and I'm like, it's just not original. And I guarantee most of these people don't even know about watches. They know what they're wearing, a Rolex.
Absolutely.
That's about it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm cool with my Tudor. Like I just recently picked up a Black Bay 58, and I'm cool with that, because if you know, you know.
Yeah, you should be. Tudor's everything that Rolex used to be. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, you said it, not me. So
Right.
Tutor.
So I have one more off the script quick time.
Go for it.
Question.
Go for it.
Air Max 90 or Air Max 95?
90 all day. All day.
90?
Yeah,
you sure?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why? What do you reckon?
Oh, 90.
Okay,
Air Max
good.
90 for sure. Yeah.
Good.
All right, cool.
Any particular reason?
Cool. Nah, it's just a classic shoe.
Yeah, I agree.
Know what I mean? And I think I probably had every colorway. I just bought triple gray last month. So
nice.
You
I
know.
think I have those. I think I have the triple gray.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I love it when I thought I was the only one that sniffs the sneakers when you do an unboxing.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I think it's a sneaker thing, right? A sneakerhead thing.
So
some people lick the bottoms. I ain't gonna go that far.
No.
What the hell?
But I ain't going that far. I think Fat Joe licked the bottoms.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Fat Joe licked the bottoms. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I don't feel so bad for licking my watch then. No, just kidding. I've never done that. But anyway, TGV, thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you and follow you?
I just search Urban Gentry channel. I'm on Instagram. That's about it. I think the channel and Instagram. That's
nice.
Cool.
Facebook, right? You have a Facebook?
Yeah, I do have a Facebook. I don't go in it as much as Facebook's a bit of a questionable corporation, but I occasionally go in. Yeah.
Got it. So the main things are just Instagram and YouTube.
Absolutely.
Got it. No TikTok accounts anytime soon. We won't see you dancing, doing silly things. No.
Definitely not.
All right. P.
But thank you.
Yeah. P.
Ross Wristwatch Love everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And shout out to my 5-2 Bengals, who's going to be 6-2 this weekend. Let's get into it. Cheer.
Football talk. Got it. Love it. Well, SoCal Watch Reviews for me, obviously on YouTube and this podcast. Thank you so much for the support. Episode 100. We are super excited. We will keep going. We'll keep bringing you more guests, and hopefully TGV will, make an appearance in the future. He's been an awesome guy. TGV, thank you so much for your time, man.
Pleasure. An absolute pleasure. The best of luck to both of you. Just keep on doing it. You're doing it right. Doing it the right way. That's the most important thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also an important thing to remember, guys and girls and everybody watching and listening, just like TGV has remained humbled all these years, stay humble.